Greetings, my friends. Jason Archer here with Scott Porter, and we are going into the inaugural episode of Dogs of WOD Radio. And want to introduce ourselves a little bit, kind of tell you a little bit about our journeys today. And I'm here sitting here with Scott. I thought he might lead off.
Yeah, hey, what's up, guys? Scott Porter. I'm a former professional strongman with the American Strongman Corporation. I competed in strongman for several years. Got started initially before that doing some powerlifting, got bored, tried my hands at strongman, and kind of fell in love with the sport. And then just my career kind of ran its course, multiple injuries, just a change in direction of my life. And more recently, in the last 2 years, started trying some CrossFit and opened up my own CrossFit affiliate. And so that's kind of where I'm going right now with my strength and my conditioning. It's definitely a real challenge. I think from the beginning I thought it was going to be something I could transition into fairly easily, and I found out it was definitely a different story. It was hard at first, and it still is hard. And I think people don't realize the difficulties of CrossFit that haven't tried some of the workouts. So definitely have a lot of things to improve on, and in regards to my fitness and overall, strength and conditioning future. So
here's a funny question for you. So out of all the disciplines that you could have gone into, coming from a powerlifting / strongman background, how in the hell did you end up as a CrossFit affiliate owner and a proponent of CrossFit?
Yeah, I mean, people that I know back from strongman, they were pretty surprised. So, I mean, I was definitely anti-CrossFit, for years. When I was in the peak of my strongman career, it was one of those things where I didn't do a whole lot of research on CrossFit, but to my knowledge, everything was light. The guys were lifting the same weights as the girls, and it was just a million repetitions. And that was probably about 2010, 2011, where I kind of you started hearing about it a lot.
Mm-hmm.
It was starting to kind of explode, especially in the local scene. Not so much on the game scene, but then it was, a couple friends in the fire department were doing it, but I looked at the workouts and I'm like, oh, it's 95 pounds. How hard could that be? There's no legitimacy to that. I could do that. So, is like I said, my career in strongman, I really feel that you only have a certain amount of time in the strongman sport at a high level. Now there's some exceptions to that, but for me, my body just started breaking down. You start getting all these injuries, and you carrying 800-900 pounds on your back doing different events. You can only do that for so long.
Mm-hmm.
And I have a different. Obviously, I'm not 400 pounds, so I have a different kind of body frame. So it's just like, well, I'm going to try a CrossFit workout. And so I think one of the first ones I tried was, like Fran.
Mm-hmm.
So it's 21, 15, 9. Thrusters and pull-ups. Thrusters a squat to a press, 95 pounds. And you guys know what pull-ups are. And back then I wasn't kipping, I wasn't doing the butterfly pull-ups, which, a lot of controversy on those. But I was like, okay, yeah, I can do those. That's easy, and I had no idea what a good time was, but I tried it, and I think I about died. I mean, it was about, collapsed on the floor.
A lot of people have that same story.
Yeah, so it was like,
Fran
okay.
story.
Yeah, exactly. So if you haven't done Fran, then you want to try it, because you'll get that Fran lung.
Yeah.
And you feel like you're going to die. And, when 95 pounds can do that to you, and just, 45 pull-ups and just a few minutes of work, I mean, it's like, okay, yeah, maybe there's something to this. Maybe I'm not as good a shape as I thought. So started digging in more into CrossFit, going online, talking to different people, trying more workouts, and, experimenting with some of my own strength background with some of the CrossFit methodology with my clients that I was training at that point, and they all loved it. And so it was like, this is the direction that the strength and fitness is going. So it was the right timing.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Well, one of the things I think a lot of people don't really know about you, at least, I've had the privilege of knowing you now for about the last year and a half or so. And we spent some nights having some, interesting conversations about fitness for sure.
Yeah.
But I think a lot of people don't realize to what extent and to what achievement you had attained in the strongman world. And I think, just in talking to some of the people at the gym here, I know they don't. So, how do you really reconcile when people question, coming from the strongman world into the CrossFit world, what happens to your strength? I know you get that question a lot, is CrossFit going to allow you to maintain that? Is it going to, take away from that? What's the overall impact you've seen on your body?
Yeah, and I think, going into it, everything you hear is, you start doing cardio, you're going to get small, you're going to get weak, and, most strongman power lifters, people that are lifting for absolute strength, they're not doing any type of cardiovascular work because they're so afraid that it's going to take away from their maximum strength. So, and they're specializing in a sport that doesn't really require any kind of cardiovascular conditioning. So why spend time and energy working on something that you're not even going to get tested on?
Right.
So it doesn't make sense. But when you make that transition over to CrossFit, I mean, now you're working in way longer time domains and using completely different energy systems, and that absolute strength, it doesn't really come into play. Right. I mean, it's good that you can have some of that, but 315 on a deadlift is going to feel heavy if you're breathing hard, you're breathing fast, your pulse rate's high. 315 now feels like 500. So that absolute strength will only take you so far. But
how does 500 feel, by the way?
Well, it can feel like sometimes, yeah. So I mean, for me, when I first got into CrossFit, I didn't have a problem, maintaining my absolute strength, and I don't think people really believed when I said, I only maxed out twice this year, and my max is still the same.
Really?
It was, and relative to the body weight, it was probably actually better because when I was doing strongman, I was 245 pounds. My max deadlift was just over 7, so it was like 725 raw, just a belt. And then when I switched over to CrossFit, I dropped some body weight, changed my diet, obviously just bumping up my cardiovascular work. You're going to lose some body weight. And I pulled 705 at 220 and last December, so 6 months ago. So I mean, if you look at relative to your body weight, it was probably actually a stronger deadlift, and that's with only maxing 3 times last year. So, and most of my deadlift workouts, I was probably only using 315 or less in a typical workout. So, I've been able to maintain my strength, my absolute strength, while improving all my strength endurance and all my other metabolic conditioning pieces, and working on mobility and all kinds of other fitness qualities, and not really addressing the absolute strength very often. And then part of it, I think, is just because I've done it over the years.
Right.
So I've done strength training for a long time, but I've worked on my absolute strength. I've developed a good foundation for the last 10 years that I don't need to lift heavy every single week to maintain the absolute strength.
Sure. I mean, a 705 deadlift is impressive at pretty much any weight. I mean, let's just be honest. But at 220, 705 deadlift, coming off your high when you weighed what, like 260, 270? What was it then?
Yeah, in 2010 I got up to about 265 body weight, and so my max deadlift then was still right around the same. It was 735 to 750. And I was wearing a suit. I didn't get much out of it, but my overhead press was better, my squat was better, a lot of my strongman movements were better. But my deadlift has always been pretty good, even no matter if I was heavier or lighter body weight. It was always right around the same.
Right.
So
it's pretty impressive. I mean, I my story in getting into this sport is quite a bit different from yours. I mean, I was a pretty good athlete when I was younger. I played a lot of soccer and football growing up. I'd run a 5-minute mile daily at that point when we were practicing year-round. And I woke up one morning, just looked in the mirror and realized I was a disgusting fat body.
Yeah.
Yeah. For me, and then, in talking to some people and looking at some different gyms around and looking at the results, I was just seeing these results coming from these CrossFit gyms and looking at these CrossFit physiques. And really, that's what kind of drove me into this. Just the sheer
Sure.
vanity aspect of looking like a fucking Greek god. You know
Sure.
what I mean? I mean, let's just
Yeah.
be real honest with you. I want to look good naked.
Well, yeah, and I think that's probably where you're in the majority there. That's where most people are probably sitting.
Yeah,
Like it's if I can work out extremely hard, which the CrossFit workouts are, but you have this payoff.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So, and then you and I were talking in another conversation that kind of bleeds into the next little topic we're going to jump into is, how is it that a CrossFitter can look that way and achieve results, across these different domains, so
Hmm.
consistently over, say, a specific athlete who's competing for strongman or for football or for whatever. How does it happen? Like, what is it inside the body physiologically that happens to create that in an individual?
Yeah, I mean, those are all really good questions. I think as CrossFit gains, exposure and interest and popularity, it's really, it's really changing almost how people address strength and fitness,
Mm-hmm.
right? So, like I was talking with somebody the other day, 5 years ago when CrossFit was still relatively in its infancy on a sport level, a national level, global level, really, uh, you know, nobody would even consider the fact that somebody can go run a 5 minute mile, snatch 300 pounds, clean and jerk close to 400, walk on their hands for 300 feet,
Mm-hmm.
do 75 pull-ups in a row. I mean, the list goes on and on. So 5 years ago, nobody would even say, "Hey, do you think it's going to be possible in 5 years that somebody does
Mm-hmm.
X?" And then be like, no, nobody was even talking about it. Think about 10 years ago from today. So, before the first games,
Yeah,
you
for
know,
sure.
to go back to the first games, 2007. I mean, you look at some of the numbers, and then where they were then and where they are now. So obviously, as the sport evolves and people's training evolves, the concept of how to approach strength, fitness, cardiovascular conditioning, everything is going to constantly change
Totally.
and improve and evolve. And who knows what guys and girls are going to be doing in 5 years.
Yeah, it's interesting that you brought up the deadlift run example, right? I mean, we just did a workout here recently. What was it called? Tillman.
Yeah, yeah.
And, I'll let you tell the folks what Tillman is for those who don't know.
Okay, yeah. So Tillman is a hero workout created after Pat Tillman, and for those who don't know hero workouts, CrossFit comes up with these workouts for somebody that was killed in action, and most people know who Pat Tillman is. So, and typically the hero workouts are just nasty and long, and this
Yeah.
one is a little bit, it's both, but it's also heavy. So it's one of those ones that's like, okay, this is right up my alley. We got some heavy weight. So, based on memory, I think it's 7 rounds, 7 deadlifts at 315 for the guys, I believe 225 for girls, and then 200-meter run, and then 15 pull-ups.
Yeah, and I wanted you to kind of spell that out because one of the things that was interesting to me before I got into CrossFit, and went and got my cert and all that sort of stuff was I saw an interview with Glassman.
Okay.
And he was talking about, I think it was Glassman, I could be wrong, but he was talking about how if you take, a really strong guy, a power lifter guy, and you have him do deadlifts, he's going to do great, right? Just like if you take an endurance runner and you have him, run, he's going to do great. That's what they do, right?
Yeah.
But the minute you have them mix modalities,
Yeah.
it's as if they forget the ability to do either,
Right.
right? And so to have both of those, aspects within the same WOD, I can attest to the fact that, it does really fuck up your coordination. I mean, it really messes with your coordination. When you come back tired,
Yeah.
your CNS is fried, you're trying to pick your legs up on the run,
Yeah.
and then you want to jump up on a bar and do pull-ups.
Yeah.
I mean, it's definitely a different modality overall as compared to any of those things. And in terms of adding intensity to the workout, there's just no comparison.
Yeah, yeah, and it's more to your point. If you haven't done that kind of a workout, then you just don't know. You just don't know how that feels, and you just have to experience it to know, to feel it out and be like, okay, this is what they're talking about. So, just like you said, so now you're doing 7 deadlifts at 315. Oh, it's no big deal, or you may be a good runner. Oh, 200-meter run 7 times. That's no big deal.
But have you ever ran when your back is lit up from deadlifts? And not even, don't even talk about the pull-ups, but have you ever deadlifted 315 for 7 reps when you're breathing, 30 times a minute and your pulse is jacked?
Yeah.
It's still a little different of a feeling. So, until you experience it, it's hard to really talk about, have that conversation with somebody.
Yeah, having that conversation with someone who might go to a Gold's gym or what have you, and or even a powerlifting gym and do 7 sets of 7, just straight up deadlifting, but rest a minute and a half, 2 minutes, 3 minutes between.
Yeah.
Versus having 0 rest, 0 recovery time, or actually you're supposed to be recovering while you're on the run in this particular WOD, right?
Yeah.
That's your recovery.
Yeah.
It changes everything.
Yeah. Totally different dynamic and, response that you're going to have. And yeah, I mean, that workout was nasty. And then that's not even addressing the pull-ups the fact that you're doing 105 pull-ups
right.
in a workout.
Hands are torn up.
Yeah. Most people can't do 105 pull-ups, over the course of a whole day.
Right.
Or in a workout. If you're doing pull-ups in your workout, you're at a standard gym. What are you doing? 5 sets of 10 maybe, 5 sets of 15. So this workout, you're doing 7 sets of 15, plus all the deadlifts, plus all the running. So
it's kind of the worst of the worst. You got high volume and heavy weight.
Yeah.
And no rest between.
Yeah. Well, and so in that workout, there is a 40-second rest after each round.
Oh, that's right.
But I mean, that goes by,
I'm so delirious, I forgot that part.
Yeah. Well, it's almost you need the rest anyway, right? So
right.
It's like, oh, thank God there's a rest after each round. But the reality is you come off that pull-up bar and you're like, okay, where's my deadlift belt? Okay, chalk up my hands. Oh, it's time to go. That's 40 seconds. Went fast.
Man, that was fast.
So, yeah, and that's kind of an exception to most of the workouts where they don't have built-in rest. But, yeah, that workout was good. We just did that one recently. So.
Yeah, so that kind of touches on, a concept you and I have kicked back and forth a lot in the CrossFit world, and that, is how you measure intensity, quantitatively, right? And I think that's one of the beautiful things about CrossFit, and obviously you and I have talked a little bit about the science behind some of this stuff, the physics behind what creates work and power and that sort of thing. And, during that workout, you have athletes generating a tremendous amount of power over a short period of time. And I really think personally that's what creates that response. That's what creates that adaptive response in the body that says grow. You have to get stronger. There's no option. And we've talked about this on several occasions, but I wanted to get your thoughts on the power output piece and how that comes into play. Coming from strongmen, obviously everything is just straight up power output, but not necessarily over a period of time.
Right.
So
right.
Wanted to get you to weigh in on that and see what your thoughts were.
Yeah. So, I mean, if you're looking at it from a science, physics perspective, for people that aren't, real knowledgeable on that aspect, we're talking about power, which is, work divided by time, right? So, and the way you figure out the amount of work that you did would be the force that you're using to apply to the weight, or your body weight could be a force too, and times the distance that you move. So force times distance is the work, and then if you divide that by a time, then you figure out the amount of power that you expressed for that piece. So take for example, let's say a deadlift. You may have a constant force with 225 on the bar, but the distance that the bar travels for a guy who's, or a girl, could say 5'2", versus someone who's 6'6",
right,
is going to be vastly different.
Totally.
So while the force remains constant, the distance is either greater or less. So if you do the math, there's more work that's being done,
right,
by somebody that has to move that bar at a further distance. And then in essence, is probably going to take more time. So to cover that amount of distance. So the power thing's always been interesting to me, and from my background in strongman, it's really easy to find power. So and leverages do help at the high level in strongman, but just like, so let's say there's a 200-pound sandbag and you got to carry it 100 feet. It doesn't. You don't have to measure. The distance is the same, the force is the same. So all you're talking about is the time, and how long it takes you to do it versus how long it takes me to do it. So that's what I like about strongman, And CrossFit uses the same thing, large loads, long distances quickly.
Absolutely.
And they put a lot of stock into, intensity, relative intensity, and power output. But when you get, like I said earlier, the workout Fran. So this brings me back to, I did a contest where we did totals early in the night, and then we had to do Fran. And I was going head to head with a guy, and he's an experienced CrossFitter, and we're doing Fran right next to each other. And I kept up with him rep for rep. We both went unbroken on thrusters, and then both went unbroken on pull-ups, and then our next set of thrusters and pull-ups both went unbroken, 15 and 15. Mm-hmm. But he beat me by, I think, 30 seconds in the workout. And it wasn't because he was in better shape, because we both broke, I think, once on the 9 set. And it wasn't because he, was stronger or anything like that, or had better skill. It was just that his range of motion was so much shorter, right? So this guy is like 5'6",
right,
and I'm 6'2". So my thrusters are taking about 1.5 times the amount of time because I'm traveling more distance with the bar, and then his pull-ups are just so short and crisp because his arms are shorter.
Right.
So it's like, how do you compete against that?
Right, exactly. That's a real question, right? Because, if you look at the winners of the CrossFit Games, quote unquote, measuring the fittest on earth, there's never been a winner more than 6 feet tall. I think the tallest one was James Fitzgerald at 5'11".
And that was in 2007.
Right, that was long ago.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So as the sport continues to evolve, I think you're going to go even further away from that.
Yeah, so we're going to ignite controversy here amongst the short and the tall.
Yeah.
They'll be rioting in the street over who has the advantage versus who doesn't have the advantage, right?
Yeah.
Short guys like to say the tall guys have the advantage on the rower.
Right. Yeah. That's and there's actually a formula if you look at the concept too, to figure out like a body weight does come into play on the rower.
Sure.
But then you see, let's look at the half marathon row in the games.
Who won that?
Khalipa,
short guy.
He's not tall. Yeah. Well, where was Chad McKay in that?
Exactly.
He's your tallest, biggest guy.
And that was a pretty long row, so you'd think the averages would come out at the end of that one.
Yeah.
Yeah. For sure.
Yeah.
So I guess the question, the games are going on right now, or at least the regionals are going on right now while we're recording this, So, I think one of the big, controversial things amongst us average or, us amateur athletes is, what is CrossFit really measuring when they say fittest on earth? Because, at the training course, it's all about power output. Power output. But is, Jason Khalipa doing a thruster at, 5'8" or whatever he is, the same as an athlete doing a thruster at 6'2"?
Right.
Is it the same? It seems like the taller athlete's going to have much more work to do just to keep pace, because basically all we're counting is reps. We're not actually counting power output.
Yeah, and just to further drive home that point, the workout I like to use is 21-15-9 deadlifts, box jumps. So this is a workout. I like it because it's got heavy deadlifts, but they've used it, I think, multiple times. So in 2011, it was a regional workout, and it was 315 for the guy, 30-inch box jump, and then it was in the games, I believe, 1 year, and then it came back up in another regionals, and they used a very, very deadlift box jump in the open this year, and it was an increasing weight on the deadlifts. And the point of it is that you look at a guy like games level guy Austin Malialo, so incredibly strong. He's got close to I believe he's got a mid 500 deadlift, 500 pound deadlift. He's got really long arms, and he can jump out. He can jump out of the building. So perfect workout for him. And I believe he did that workout in just under 3 minutes, which is just incredible. And you can watch the video. It's on YouTube somewhere. And so I've done the workout multiple times. And I got into some discussion. I'll put it lightly.
Was it a discussion?
It was a discussion. Well, I try not to engage in some of those, online Facebook arguments.
It wasn't a fist fight at this point.
Yeah. And so this was with a guy who is short, right? And so he was defending the short guys and saying, well, he's just not much better fitness than you. And while I acknowledge that he is in better fitness than I am, I tried to, get him to open his mind to the fact that, well, look, so the deadlifts, he might be moving the bar, say, let's just say easy numbers. He's moving it 12 inches on the way up and 12 inches on the way down. So because you got to apply both for the distance, and then and I might be moving it 18 on the way up and 18 on the way down. So each repetition, I'm traveling 12 more inches, right, a foot each time, and there's 45 reps,
Right.
And then on the box jumps, it's the distance is now constant. And whereas the force is varied, where in the deadlifts it's the opposite. The force is the same, the distance is varied. So on the box jump, the 30-inch box jump's the same for both of us, but now he's about 180 pounds, and where I'm 225. So I have to create more force to jump and land on the box.
Right.
So
with longer levers.
Yeah.
As well. Yeah.
And so how do you compete with that? And I mean, you can do the physics, you could do the math, and figure out how much power he expressed in his time if you took all the measurements and how much I did. So I mean, that right there to me is a great way to look at a power output.
Sure.
And how a shorter athlete versus a taller athlete and how that's going to change. So
totally. Yeah, and I think that's the thing too, right? It's we're really not measuring power output at an event like the games.
Right.
As much as CrossFit wants to put that forth. And, I'm not taking anything away from them, because I fully believe that CrossFit has revolutionized the fitness industry by applying some metrics to this type of thing.
Yeah.
But that's really not what we're measuring at that point. And, what we're measuring is who gets done the fastest. So maybe fittest on earth isn't quite the right title for the winner of the games. I don't know. We'll let you guys debate about it.
Yeah.
It's obviously going to be a question that's going to keep coming up until somebody over 6 feet tall actually wins the damn thing.
For sure. For sure. Yeah, and I think as it evolves, it almost becomes a specialized sport.
Totally.
It's a specialized sport that thrives on non-specialization.
Right.
So, it's becoming more and more of a sport where you need the skills. And so it's gonna cater towards certain athletes,
Totally.
certain builds. So
Totally, yeah. Well, like I said, we'll leave that one up for debate. You guys will definitely have to put some comments down below. Let us know what you think.
yeah,
And this is probably as good a time as any to talk a little bit about Iron Fitness and some of the things that we've discussed with that, and some of the concepts behind what's going to be driving an upcoming competition. Maybe you could weigh in on that a little bit.
yeah. So I'll take this time to let you guys know about a concept that I came up with, and Jason and I have kind of evolved it to where we're at with it now, and it's called the Iron Fitness Games. So being that I have a background in strongman for 8 years as a pro, and then now that I've been diving into CrossFit, I can see both sides of it. And so what I wanted to do is come up with something that's almost going to bridge the gap between those two sports, and almost take the best of both. So you've got, how many people have a chance at going to World's Strongest Man? So very, very select, a handful, very select individuals. But there's a lot of guys that and girls that like to do strongman. So you've got a lot of people out there, and the same is true of CrossFit. How many people are going to get to the games? Very, very few. They really only take top 3 at each region. Just to get to regionals now is very, very difficult. So you've got a ton of CrossFit athletes out there. And so what I wanted to do is create something that could almost cater to both athletes and be a bridge between those two sports and have it measure power output scientifically.
Absolutely. And so, you and I were discussing how we could do that, and came up with a couple of different ideas that I think are pretty revolutionary at least in the competition circuit. And, maybe we could talk just a little bit about how, that might look in the competition. And then we'll just close with that and let people comment on what we've got going here.
Yeah, sure. So we're getting ready to put on an Iron Fitness Games event, and that's going to be August 30th in Phoenix, Arizona. And so here's a workout for you to start thinking about that your types of stuff that you're going to see. So I want to use strongman movements and be able to measure power output, right? So in 1 minute, you have to complete an 80-foot yoke walk. Okay, so on that yoke walk, you're going to have select weights that you can choose from. So based on your strength level, what you feel like it's at, you may think, oh, I can do 500 and move it in X amount of time. Somebody else might say, well, I want to do 600. It might take me a little bit longer, but we're going to be able to figure out the amount of power that you expressed on that piece by taking force, the distance is going to be constant, and dividing it by time.
Okay.
Right? So you're going to have 1 minute to do that piece. Then you're going to go straight into a 2-minute piece of 25 ball over shoulder. Now we're talking about a heavy D-ball, medicine ball, similar to an Atlas stone. And you're going to have multiple weights to choose from. So for the guys, it'd be 150 pounds, 100 pounds, or 80 pounds. Now you've got 25 reps, so you might choose to go for the middle range and just go faster. Or you may know, I can do the 150 for 25. And it may take you slightly longer, but you'll have expressed more power over that 2-minute time frame. So, and then you would go into a 3-minute piece that would be an AMRAP for calories on the Concept 2 rower. So after you do those 2 strength pieces, now we're going to kind of test that cardiovascular endurance and see what you have left in the tank.
So once your CNS is basically fried, we want you to row some.
Yeah. So we did something similar with the first Iron Fitness Games last year, but now we're going to be measuring those power output on those first 2 pieces. And then the rower, I feel, is almost like the equalizer. Right. Like, you can't just show up to the Iron Fitness Games and be big, strong, Haas. I can yoke walk 900 pounds. If you can do that and still row 3 minutes and do well, that's awesome. I want to see it, but we're looking for that guy who's, got the strength, but also has the endurance piece.
Conditioning piece.
Yep.
For sure. And so I think the beautiful thing about this is it kind of eliminates the need to have a scaled division, have multiple divisions running and all the mass confusion that comes with that.
Yeah.
Because basically if you can kind of choose your own destiny, you can come up and pick up something that works for you and still have a chance at creating as much power as someone who may be stronger than you, but might have a challenge with their freaking ego because they want to show off in front of 100 people that they can move a 500-pound yoke.
Yeah, exactly.
Where they might actually be better for them in the end to move a 400-pound yoke faster.
Yeah.
So it's kind of a mental test as well as a physical test.
Yeah, and that's how all the other workouts that I've been coming up with, it's going to be true for all of them. It's you're going to need a blend of all the different qualities, strength and endurance. And it's going to level the playing field, so to speak. So you're going to get someone who's brand new to maybe the sport of strongman. They've done a little bit of ball over shoulder, stones, yoke walk, but then you're going to get some guys that are pro strongman that are guys like Zach McCarley has expressed interest in coming out. And if you don't know Zach, he's a 6-time national champion. So guys like Tom Mutafis, guys like BJ Barabbas, Johnny Wasiko, Chad Coy, and then other strongmen that are top amateurs like Julian Pinot, Will Dinwiddie. These guys I've all talked to. They all have somewhat of an interest in this type of an event, and they've got that elite strongman strength, but how much conditioning do they have? Right. So maybe if you're more geared towards that conditioning and you haven't done a whole lot of strongman and you can't do an 800-pound yoke walk, but you can move 500 to 600 really freaking fast and then do well on the conditioning, well, that just leveled the playing field.
Totally.
So you've got to have all of those.
Yeah, I think that kind of bore itself out at that one event we did last year, where I think Roman Saraceres was way up there.
Yeah, Roman, yeah, little Roman. Yeah, local.
Shout out to Roman.
Yeah, local guy, Scottsdale athlete, and he showed up, did the Iron Fitness Games. I think he signed up the day before. Right. In typical fashion, right?
Does he weigh like $165?
So yeah, he's probably 165, 170. Yeah, at most, soaking wet. And here's a guy who's really strong for his body weight. And he's a good CrossFitter too, and he took second place. The guy who beat him was this guy Billy Wood, who's a strong guy in his own right, and a CrossFit,
Another
a good
hell of a CrossFit.
yeah, regionals CrossFit
Regionals
athlete.
level for sure.
Yeah, huge deadlift for this guy, and he took first pretty easily, and he's probably about 220, and then Roman at 165, 170 took second, and then the guy who placed third was another local guy, Brian Clark, who's an up and coming strongman who's now making his way into heavyweight strongman. So you had little Roman in there, and you look at the podium finishers, and it's like right there it says, okay, look at this. They're not all the same height and size.
Right.
So there's no, oh well, he won because he outweighs me, or he's 3 inches taller.
Yeah, I think that was the beauty of it. I mean, because even before we introduced this concept of measuring power output, kind of choose your own destiny type WODs, I mean, there you see Roman coming in, as a smaller guy, relatively speaking, but with a power to weight ratio that's off the charts, and then competing with these guys who have incredibly strong lifts all the way across the board. So I think the proof is in the pudding there, so to speak.
Definitely.
So that event's coming up. What is it? August 30th, right?
August 30th. Yeah, August 30th, a Saturday. It's going to be Labor Day weekend. It's going to be out here in Phoenix, Arizona.
Right.
And it's we're going to be getting the registration out here soon. I know a lot of people have expressed interest in getting signed up. We're going to have some cash prizes.
Yeah, talk about that a little bit. We got a little money on the line for the folks.
Yeah, so that's, I mean, if you're thinking about doing this event and you think you got what it takes to win, we're going to be throwing out some cash for you. So we got $2,000 total in cash prizes. We're going to give out $1,000 to the male winner, and then $500 to the female, and then we're going to also have teams. So if you're not quite ready to step into that individual limelight, so to speak, then you can team up with somebody, and we're gonna give out $500 to the winning team. So
awesome. And again, there's not going to be a scaled division in this. It's going to be, like you were talking about the other day, it's going to be more like the Open, where you're competing with everyone.
Exactly.
And you're going to have the ability to at least put something on the board in every event, so you'll actually know where you stack up against the best competitors. There won't be any of this, I'm sandbagging and I'm going to stay in the scale division and beat all these guys. None of that.
No trophy hunting.
That's right. No
trophy hunting.
No sandbagging.
Yep. But I think that's going to be part of the draw too. Is like, people are going to want to see where they stack up against. Maybe we get like a Danny Nichols out here, a guy who's an elite CrossFit or regionals guy who may have a chance to go into the games. But he's got a 400-pound clean and press, and so we get a guy like him out here, and then versus a strongman. So, and then you get someone who just started in the sport. Well, now you can measure yourself against two high-level athletes in two different sports and see where you're at.
Absolutely.
So, and what other events do that?
Yeah, not many, and I think that's one of the things that's innovative about this. And we want to invite everyone who's listening to come out and participate. Obviously, if you're not going to compete, come out and support. It's going to be spectator friendly. We're going to have lots of stuff in place so you'll know who's in the lead. We're going to have a leaderboard. We'll have everything in place so you can follow along and learn a little bit about what's happening. I've been to some local competition, and it seems more like a clusterfuck than anything, trying to figure out who's where and that sort of thing. So that's one of the things we want to make top priority, is just making it spectator friendly.
Yeah, definitely. I've put on a lot of events. I've been to a lot of events, and that's always kind of the thing that you hear the most. This is a really good event. It was really fun to watch. They really had their stuff together, and having promoted several events, we're gonna definitely do our best to make sure all our ducks in a row. If you come out and you're just spectating, you're gonna have a good time. You're gonna see something that you've never seen before. You're gonna see some tremendous athletes, and we're gonna make it an enjoyable experience, not only for the athletes but also for the family, friends, and spectators. So.
Yeah, absolutely. I think a lot of people don't realize how many top-notch athletes are actually local here to Phoenix.
Yeah.
And with some money on the line, I think we're gonna draw some people from SoCal, probably from Nevada, Utah, at least all the neighboring states.
Yeah. So
we should have a healthy mix of some great athletes in this region. And it'd be a great opportunity to come out and test yourself and see where you stack up.
Definitely.
Yeah. So anything else you want to say about the Iron Fitness Games event that's coming up? What we got a name for that thing, right? What are we calling it?
So it's the Iron Fitness Games Summer Strength Showdown.
Right on.
That's August 30th.
All right. Well, we're going to leave it right there. If you guys have anything to say, comment below. Let us know what you think. We're going to have a website up at dogsofwod.com shortly, as well as the ironfitnessgames.com website where you can sign up for all the events. That's going to be coming shortly as well. So stay tuned for the next episode. We appreciate you guys tuning in, and take care.
Thanks, guys.